Track and field is about distance, time, and space. And when it comes to the upcoming U.S. Olympic trials to be held in Eugene, Oregon next month, beating the clock, crossing the finish line, or topping the competition's final measurements will secure a spot in this year's Summer Olympics in Rio de Janeiro. Joining me for this track and field discussion is a woman who in 2009 was a heptathlon All-American at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and at one time, she was also a reporter for In the Zone. Welcome, Alexandra Coppadge.
Well, thank you for having me back.
Good to see you again. It's been a long time.
It's good to be seen and see you doing your thing.
Right. And also, before the gun goes off, his job is getting his athletes ready at Benjamin Cardozo High School in Queens. Welcome, track and field coach Ray James. Welcome, coach.
Pleasure to be here. Pleasure.
Well, you know what? We have some pretty good news, especially in the college front when it comes to track and field. LIU, right down the street, they have a couple of guys who are right now All-Americans, Michael Jean Petit-Home and Brandon Reynolds, I believe. So they are, one is going, I think, going to compete for Canada. Petit-Home is going to hopefully compete for Haiti in the 200 and the 400, one of those events.
Well, you know what? That's when I hear something like that, I know what they do. I know how they practice. They're right here in New York. They practice at the Armory, practice all around New York. And they're performing at a level that's obvious. It's international level that they're putting out athletes at the international level. What that says for people like myself, when our athletes go away, and particularly sprinters, they choose to go south, am I right? Or to go out west.
Why?
Ostensibly, they think that, well, if I go to warmer weather, it's going to be better conditions. However, I always tell them that, hey, Canada produces great sprinters. The Czech Republic, Russia, they all produce sprinters. England, so you don't really have to do that. And what they're doing in LIU is testimony that you can develop sprinters and athletes that traditionally at the world level or even the national level in high school choose to go to the South. So, you know, I'm very happy with what they're doing here.
And this also bolsters the Northeast Conference, especially when it comes to track and field.
Absolutely. I mean, when you have guys running at LIU, it brings awareness to the kids that are in high school and at the AAU level that you can stay within your own community. And it also makes the collegiate level in the Northeast corridor more competitive. So it's all the way around, it's a positive when you have people from this area not only compete, but compete well.
Also, when you look at, on the women's side, you have Natasha Hastings, University of South Carolina, also born in Brooklyn, went to A. Philip Randolph High School.
Right, right. Yeah, Natasha, she was you know all about Natasha because you probably competed against her.
I was younger. She's before my time, so she is somebody I looked up to as, you know,
as a matter of fact,
star, New York star, who you want to be like.
Right, exactly, and I apologize for that. but certainly Natasha is the name that's out front in terms of New York athletes competing internationally. She started out in club track, right here in Brooklyn. She's from Rosedale, Queens, and she competed for AP Randolph. They had a little synergy with the club coach at that time, so she was able to do that whole club circuit and the high school circuit. She chose to go to the University of South Carolina. She had a great relationship with famous Coach Fry, and her development, her progression continued. It's quite often that when a high school athlete leaves and they go to college, the progression stops. You know, and that's a major concern to a lot of high school coaches, club coaches, and whatnot.
When you look at New York City overall, they probably produce more high school track and field scholarship athletes than any other city across the country.
Oh, that'd be a little bit generous. You've got states like California and Texas out there, so I don't know if that, and Florida, so I don't know if that's true. But I will say they've always been known to produce really good sprinters and really good, for at least women, really good 400-meter runners. And that's also a lot in part to Natasha Hastings kind of blazing that trail, especially for girls that are in that, she's got to be almost 30, that mid 25 and under range. That has been the premier race It's who wins the 400 meters, and at least in women's sports at the high school level and at club track level. So I don't know if they have the most recruits, you know, for the college level, but it's absolutely without question one of the most competitive track and field markets for the amateur level, especially since you have the Milrose Games here to showcase, you have the Colgate Women's Games to showcase, and the high school national championships at the Armory.
In New York City, or in this metropolitan area, who has a chance, who's going to the Olympic trials, and who has a chance to go beyond?
Well, you know, that has a lot to do with the progression, I would have to say, right?
I was going to say, because from the high school, that's only so much you can do once they leave you.
That's right. I mean, I see my athletes when they come back in the summertime, when they come back around the Christmas vacation. And it's quite often that they can't even do the same workouts. So, but there are runners that are, you know, right now, I think it's not necessarily a hotbed, the hotbed, but, you know, I will say one thing pertaining to just sports in general in New York City. Track and field provides, well, the athletes get to a level where there are more Division I scholarships in that particular sport than any other sport. When I was coming up, people would come to New York to get a point guard, you know, in basketball, you know. But the rest of the country is caught up to New York, perhaps even past the city. However, track and field, I mean, we certainly produce more D1 scholarships in track than any other sport by far, probably twice the amount.
And when it comes to media, especially, we only pay attention to track and field during an Olympic year. Unfortunately, you have the Penn Relays, you have the Milrose Games, you have the Fontaine Games, you have all types of games taking place across the country, but in terms of really noticeability, it comes down to the Olympics.
Yes, and that's one of the things that I think USA Track and Field is trying to work on, but it's a hard fight. It's the same thing that soccer struggles with, lacrosse struggles with, who also has a professional league. It's one of those things when you're not in the mainstream sports category. You know, Europe doesn't have football, and their NBA isn't to the same magnitude that we have. So it's one of those things where those dominate the media for at least the U.S., but if you've ever gone, and I hope people listening have the opportunity to go to a track and field meet internationally. I mean, you think this is the NFL. Stadiums are packed.
And when it comes to those key events like shot putting, discus throwing, are we participating in that much? Is that mostly a West Coast, Southern type of thing?
I was a shot putter. Hey, we're out here. There's no events with one or two people in them.
But the sexiness goes towards the sprinter, the 110-meter hurdle.
Of course,
right?
that's at every level.
Yeah.
But we have throwers in the New York area. You have people that's doing the field events, the long jump, the high jump, the shot put, the discus, the pole vault. I mean, there's plenty of opportunity, especially for young ladies, just because there's so many scholarship opportunities. That's with Title IX. That's also something to keep in mind, is that no matter what event it is in track, you have an opportunity to get a scholarship.
That's right. That's right. Speaking about the shot put, the throws, I think they're coming up in the Northeast right now. I think we're doing quite well in the throws, the whole Northeast quarter. I believe in the NCAA championship last week, and I have to apologize because I cannot remember the gentleman's name. He throws for Purdue in the shot put. I believe he came in second. Or one of their throws. But I believe it was a shot put from right here in New York City. So I know Long Island was out in the island, and they were very good with the hammer throws and stuff like that, and the weight throw. So it's people want to look at that as sort of a niche event.
Right.
But
and also you have a lot of folks also who are from other countries who participate here, but they'll compete for their country.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, yes.
Especially in the sprints. There's nothing stopping coaches from going and getting talent overseas and bringing it over here. And then when it comes to Olympic competition, they go back and represent their country. But I think that creates a good training ground for what our athletes should expect if they want to go to the next level.
You spoke about someone at LIU. I think they have a couple of athletes that perhaps may run for their country should they meet that Olympic standard. And that's another thing. You have to meet the Olympic standard. I'm faced with the same situation.
You said
with one
you
of my
also have a B
athletes.
standard and an A standard, right? Explain that.
Well, you can explain that
Okay,
one.
well, the Olympic A standard is an automatic qualifier. That's what the A stands for. If enough people don't hit the automatic qualifier, then you go to who is the fastest of the B. You have to hit a B standard, but who is the fastest after that automatic A qualifier? So that's just the difference. I mean, the goal is you want to solidify your spot, so aim for the automatic time.
Right, right. So, you know, we have athletes here at LIU. Should they hit that, they'll automatically go. I have a young lady that's at Georgetown. Her progression didn't stay the same. She was a national champion indoor and outdoor. And when she went to school, it just didn't continue. She's still stuck at like 203. Well, 2029 gives you the opportunity to go to the Olympic trials here.
Yeah, right.
But to actually compete in the Olympic Games, you have to run something like 2:01.5. So she still has it. She's got to run. If she hits that, she automatically goes for Haiti because her mother was born in Haiti.
All right, good. Thanks for coming, Coach.
Okay.
Also, you, Alex, I know also you're presently right now the Executive Director of Communications for the Mayor of Wilmington, Delaware.
Yes,
Wow.
yes.
I know you're doing a good job.
I'm trying.
All right, thank you.